Oh, Spirit just tuned in.
Hello, Spirit.
That's like a different tune in. That's not typical.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Wonder what that means.
I don't know. I don't know.
There we go.
Are you coming on camera today, Marissa?
Do you want me to?
I mean, yeah.
It'd be nice to see you, Marty.
Like another 5 minutes.
That's okay.
Is that supposed to be a person standing in the sand?
You know what that reflection is? It's the cross. It's Jesus.
Are you shitting me?
That's the cross on my wall. And
How
that
the hell
is
is
the
it
only
up there?
thing bleeding.
It's a person. Well, yeah, because it looks like a
It's
person.
Jesus. It's
I
the
know
cross
it's
on my wall.
Yeah,
It looks like
it's the footprints in the sand.
That right there.
That's cool. Wait,
Okay, you guys, that is
Shot.
amazing. Out of everything okay, the filter is on, and what is being captured is Jesus on the wall.
that's crazy.
but
That
the
is-
wall.
Yeah, can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can come back.
Yeah.
Oh, and then he was over there. Oh, and now he's over there.
And now he's closer.
601.
Oh, it is
Should we let
closer.
people in?
Yeah, I'm admitting.
Okay, that's crazy.
All right, go on mute, everybody.
Okay, but that's crazy, you guys. The video. So
Mhm.
welcome to the Pure Soul Ask Nikki for the month. I'm glad you're here with me today. As I was getting ready for the Zoom today, Pam and I were it was already open. I had admitted her a little bit earlier. And so I was getting ready. And when I got this impression, it's like a connection from spirit. And I felt it, and it just kind of came in and pinged in my brain like that. And I said to Pam, I was like, oh, I go spirit connected. And she's like, oh, and I don't remember what she said. And then I said, but it's different. It's not the same. It's like a different kind of spirit connection that I don't usually get before we start our Zoom. So then Marissa, I was telling her when she came on camera, I'm like, well, come on camera because you're always not on camera. And so she said, okay, she would come on camera, and she has a filter on for her background. So see her background. She's actually, the living room is behind her. So one of the dogs needed something. So she moved so that she could attend to the dogs. And so the filter's on. So you shouldn't see anything at all in my house because the filter is on. But then Pam or somebody said, hey, what is that in the middle of the screen? It looks like there's a guy, like a little guy there, or a guy there. And I was like, and I looked at it and I recognized it because there's a cross hanging on my wall that I've had for 34 years that I found at a flea market in North Carolina for like $5. But it's been everywhere with me for 35 years. So it's hanging on the wall diagonal to where Marissa is sitting, and it came through the filter.
But
and it was
only,
just there.
but not
So
the whole cross.
Only that. And it was glowing around it. When I post the video for this month, you got to look at it. You got to look at it. I know what it is, and I recognize it, and I know that it came through, but it bled through the filter. And then it was just Jesus standing in the sand. And Brittany's like, oh, it's like footprints in the sand. But so that was
There.
I think
There it is.
there it is. See it?
Don't move, Mar.
See it? See it right there? That's a cross on my wall. That is the only thing coming through in the filter. That's it. It's literally been on my wall for 35 years, and I love it. And it was so inexpensive. And it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. Like I'll post a picture of the actual cross when I post the video, but come on. Come on, isn't that weird?
But you don't even see the
That's the
cross.
only
You only see
No, you don't. You
Jesus.
just see him.
Mhm.
It's the only thing coming through, not the TV right underneath it or the lamps. Nothing else. Just that. I can't even, I'm just like, now I know why that connection was different.
Mhm.
Like when I had the different, it was different. And I was like, no, it's not like normal. It's just different. And yeah, isn't that amazing? I think it's amazing, you guys. I'm like blown away.
I think it might be
I
I think it's a feature when you're using a background that it recognizes a face or a person. So it because that's how we're shown. Like Marissa,
Yeah.
you wouldn't see Marissa if the software didn't recognize, oh, that's a person.
Okay, but in reality, it's a piece of wood on the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's not a person. It's a piece of wood on
Right.
the wall. Like
And it's really
literally,
small.
and it's very small. In the distance from here to there, for that to be recognized then in an algorithm that says only person is shown, then that's even bigger. That only person is shown. So I don't know.
It's crazy.
I'm sorry, I'm blown away. Like I am just
I think it's crazy too.
right. It's not just me. Like you're as amazing,
Well,
right? Because I am.
Yeah, it doesn't even look like a person. Like, you know, it
Really.
doesn't look like enough like a person for it to be stuff like that.
And does he have a halo? Is he glowing?
He's like glowing around it. Look at it. It's like glowing around it. So yeah, technology and everything else, but come on. That's a really obvious like invitation from Jesus to us. And I think it's really like, it's probably a really good time to talk about it. But when okay, so Haley is joining. So I think it's a really, well, actually what I feel like I should be talking about today is because of that it's an invitation from him to us to find him and to seek him out. He's right there in front of us. And I think that's the thing that is most dominant. He's literally right there in front of us. So we're getting close to the Christmas holiday and we're getting close to the Christmas season. And it is this season of Advent for Catholic people. If you're not Catholic, that's okay. But there is a season that we call Advent. And the goal of Advent is for the 25 days preceding Christmas that you try to find Christ in the world and that you try to see Christ in all of the different aspects of your life. So if somebody is generous to you, that you recognize that that's Christ, and you try to see what Christ qualities people express, because when they do, then you know that Christ is there. And your goal is to find him in those days and to find him in others so that we can get used to recognizing that sometimes God speaks to us through other people. How many times have you told a friend, oh, you're my angel? Oh my gosh, you were my angel. That helped me so much. Like how many times has God's love come through you toward others? And do you even recognize that level of compassion that comes through you sometimes for other people? And that's what we're supposed to do during those days prior to Jesus's birth, is to try to find him. And that's what they were doing. They were waiting for him too. And I think that, yeah, so somebody else talk. Go ahead, Britt, you talk.
Well, let me just add real quick. So to that point, so a little while ago, I ran to the grocery store real quick and I was walking down an aisle and I came out of an aisle and I almost hit somebody and I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, please go, and it was a gentleman, but I think he had some learning disabilities, things like that. And he's like, oh, no, please, you go. I'm like, okay, thank you so much. He goes, it's so nice to someone to say thank you and be kind to somebody else. and not just try to run them over. So kind of going back to the point, Nick, right? Because that's what popped in my
Yeah, I
head when
think
you actually
that's
said it.
Yeah, so when it pops into your head when I said it, it means that your spirit is giving you a reference of exactly what I'm talking about, and it just so happened that it happened to you today. And I'm sorry, but I am very emotionally moved by this. I just think it's a really, see,
Does he have a message for us, Nick?
yeah, that's the message.
Well,
He's right in
okay.
front of you, huh? I just,
So we need to go and see, we need to look every day when he's presented himself in our life and be aware. Brittany.
I can't lean out. I don't have my iPad. Normally I could like lean out, but I can't lean out. I just tried to lean out and I was like, my spirit's like, you asshole, you can't lean out. So sorry, tears and all. I'm sorry. I am very, that feels very profound to me because so many people are having such a hard time. Everybody feels like they're alone. Everybody, if it's not one thing, it's another. Life feels overwhelming. Our world is unstable. We look around, we don't like a lot of what we see in people and how people interact and communicate with each other. And everybody really kind of has been looking at the world lately and like, what's happening? Why is this happening? And I think that's a lot of, when I talk to people, that's a lot of the question that comes from their soul is what is happening around us and to the world, and why are we doing this? And I think that is the answer to the question, that we're not seeing him. And he is literally right in front of us. And so for a little context, Haley, hi, Marissa, that's Marissa's scenery there, the only one that's a scenery. And Marissa left the picture so she could go help one of the dogs. And Pam was like, what is that? Is that like a guy standing there? And when I looked at it, I recognized it instantly because it's a cross that I have hanging on the wall for like 35 years that I bought at a flea market in North Carolina. So I could 100%, I already know what it is. But the thing is that it's the only thing that's coming through. And and Sue, well, you heard what Sue was saying, Sue was saying, well, like, recognizes people. And I'm like, yeah, but that's a slab of wood on my wall in all reality. So what about its energy is breaking through the filter? And that's the only thing in the entire room breaking through the filter. There's like 6 dogs laying right there. There's a lamp, there's a furniture, and none of it is, you can't see anything but that. And so I feel like when,
Oh, I was just going to say, remember I told you, I texted you and I was like, everything that keeps happening, something like happens very like quickly afterwards. A couple hours ago, I went, after the boys were at school, we went to go get Slurpees because like we've been like in the house for like way too long. And when we were leaving, I saw this lady standing outside. I didn't even see what her sign said, but I made sure to use cash and I just handed her like several dollars. And, it's obviously like freezing outside. And I just looked at her and I said, I was like, please try to stay warm. Like it's very cold out. And she like held my hand and she said, Jesus thanks you. And
come on, guys.
And I was like taken aback because I just assumed she would say like, thank you. Like whatever. But when she held my hand, she says, and she like looked me dead in the eyes and said, Jesus thanks you and blesses you. And I said, I was like, I didn't even have words. And I'm like, okay, but it's just like, there's been these occurrences of like somebody says a phrase and then it will show up in a different place like 5 minutes later. There's like, and I didn't know what to do with that. So I came home, and then when you guys were talking, I was like, oh, this is what makes sense. So
Yeah, and I was praying this morning, and it makes sense to me too. And maybe if we think about what have we been thinking about, and does his appearance joining our session today, you know what, I feel like that thing in Chosen, you know, when he's like, go ahead, talk, and she's like, that's how I feel. Like I feel just like I'm like, okay, now I'm nervous and stuff, like I'm being secret shopped. But so okay. Thank you. Yeah, that's true. Does anybody else have any context that relates them to the presence of Jesus today?
Well, maybe not today, but in recent
Or at
days,
any time? Mhm.
in this week, my husband and I have talked about him quite a bit. So I don't know.
Really?
Maybe he's like saying, "Yep."
Wow. Wow. Thank you. Are you talking, Britt? We don't hear you. Oh, okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. So that does just show us that he is present and available, and that's what we're going to be trying to do. Maybe try to do that through the month of December, and try to invite him into your life, and then see where he shows up, because you know, he shows up, you know, you never know, like on a video Zoom. Okay. So does anybody want to talk about anything else connected to our topic that we're currently covering right now?
Did we want to do their 3 words of affirmation?
Yeah, maybe that would be a great idea. So I don't know if everybody was able to watch the video focus for this month. But what I had thought was a really good idea is if we try to begin to fill our solar plexus, to find a way to love ourselves a little more, and to recognize ourselves a little more from a positive perspective. Because I find that one of the things that I am very challenged with, and I find that a lot of my client friends are also very challenged with, is negative self-talk, and how negative self-talk affects us. And so my goal is to say that since we all do that, and in order to find a way to kind of contradict that, or to bring more of a balance, so we can start to outweigh the negative self-talk with the positive self-talk, is if we separated ourselves into that trinity that we are. And so for this exercise, it would be like, for your analytical self, your emotional self, and your physical self, what are 3 positive words of affirmation, or what is an adjective that describes those 3 parts of you that is positive, not negative? So for example, when I think of my analytical self, and I want to give my analytical self, like, what quality do I have, or what describes my analytical self in a way that I could describe to be positive? And I would say that my analytical self is inquisitive. I always have to have the reason why. I need to know that. It brings me on a journey of seeking truth, and my analytical self is very inquisitive. And I never stay at one topic. I always have to go further and further and further, and keep digging and digging and digging. And I think that's a positive quality of mine. For my emotional self, I think I have a compassionate emotional self. And yep, I'm just think that I've always been that way. I feel bad for people a lot. I find myself, some part of myself, in a lot of people's experiences. So maybe it's not the same story, but I can relate to the emotion that they're feeling. And so I find that my emotional self is compassionate. For my physical self, I think she is very resilient, because I don't do a lot for her. And so I have to give my body kudos, because I drink a lot of Diet Coke. I smoke cigarettes. I don't eat healthy. I have tacos every day. It's like I don't really get out to exercise much. I'm super busy all the time, and my body can withstand it. So I would call my physical body resilient. So that's kind of what I'm looking for for you to take a moment and just think about those three different aspects of yourself and provide a word and a little sentence or two why you chose that word to describe yourself. So who would like to start? Britt, why don't you start?
Okay. For my physical self, I picked the word strong. So I've always prided myself on being very strong physically, like moving stuff. Like I just pulled my AC units out by myself because I had a 20-minute window, and I was like, I'll put those in the back. So I just did it. So strong is for my physical. My emotional self, I would say there's a lot of depth there, and that's kind of like a backhanded compliment, I think, to myself, because when I feel things, I feel them. So my highs are very high, my lows are very low, but I think there is something really beautiful about like feeling the full spectrum of your feelings. For my analytical self, I forget what word I picked. Mom, do you remember what word I picked for analytical?
No.
The word for analytical. Balanced. I think my analytical self is very balanced. I think I try to see a lot of different perspectives, and like I don't give credence to like one idea over the other in my analysis of a situation. I try to think of like I had a friend come to me, and she had a tricky situation she was dealing with, and I was like, okay, do you want to do the thing that most people do? Do you want to do this other thing? Do you want to do this thing? Do you want to do this thing? And I gave her all the options. And I like that about myself, that I'm not always like, here's the only thing you can do. I'm like, well, here's 9 things. What should we talk about next? So
Awesome. Thank you. That's awesome. How about you, Amanda?
I think my emotional self is layered. I know that sounds very much like depth, but I think emotionally I can exist on a lot of different levels at the same time.
So you're emotionally diverse.
Yes,
that was
the word.
You're
actually.
diverse. Yeah. That's what like your spirit was like, diverse. So
Like, it feels like layered, but it's not really diverse. Because sometimes I can't even describe what I'm feeling, because I'm feeling a lot of different things at the same time.
perfect.
And my analytical self, this one was the most difficult for me. And Nikki, you actually came up with the word for me, because I was like, this is where I beat myself up probably the most. You said compassionate, and I'd never thought about my analytical self being compassionate, because it doesn't feel like those two words go together.
Yeah, you are a compassionate thinker. You're a compassionate responder. I noticed that about you.
Yeah, so I think I think compassionately whenever I'm interacting with people, and I didn't really realize that that's how my brain worked, but yeah, it just makes sense for me. And physically, I think this one was also hard. I feel like, I think I said whimsical. And I think it's because I'm very limby. You know, I have a lot of limbs, and I pride myself in, because
Awesome. I love that.
use them in funny ways, and like,
Do you have more than 4?
it's just like I've
it
got,
sometimes feels like
it feels like it. Like I'm very. It's people like to describe me, like in my family, as like a green bean, or just like, you know, I have these limbs and a short torso, and it's whimsical.
Thank you. I love that. Who would like to go next?
Well, I can go if that's
go.
okay.
Okay, go.
So
Sue.
the
Yeah.
analytical self, boom, capable, no problem. I have no problem analyzing things,
That's
making
so
decisions.
true about
Boom,
you.
boom, boom, right? The
That
physical
is true
self,
about you.
for my physical self, at first I thought strong. And then I thought, well, no, I've been having all this problem with weakness. And then, so I changed it to healthy, even though I do have little ailments here or there. But I mean, for my age, and, you know, I eat well, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I do exercise, I take lots of, you know, supplements, and I haven't had a lot of problems. You know, when you go to the doctor and they say, what prescriptions are you on? I'm on one, and that's for acid reflux, Prilosec. Now, how many people age 62 are on one prescription for something minor like that? So I figured that would qualify as healthy. Anyway, but then when I got to my emotional self, I wrote hot mess. And then I thought, wait a minute, that wasn't the assignment. It was supposed to be a positive thing in only one word. So I struggled and struggled. And I finally came up with improving. You know, like little kids in school where they don't get the ABC report card and they get like the letters that mean that they've, I don't know what they were, but NP means needs improvement or something. That's like the
Right,
F.
right.
So I gave myself an improving because, you know, I've not been in touch with my emotions for so long that, well, I mean, sort of. I'm not a very kinesthetic person. I don't, you know, connect to other people's emotions. And I've been told in the past that, you know, maybe I was kind of cold sometimes because I don't really pick up on other people's feelings and things like that quite as easily as many other people do apparently in the whole world. And but as you all know, we've been on this Zoom for a year, and I've been pretty much an emotional hot mess for a whole year, going through something. So I give myself an improving, and it made me feel good to go through this little exercise.
I'm glad.
What it's done for me today in the last hour, because I quick watched the video just a few minutes before the meeting, or, you know, an hour before the meeting, it made me go through the exercise of changing my negative self-talk to a more positive self-talk, at least about my emotions.
Awesome.
So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else like to go? And as everybody stay on mute too, while other people are talking, just to make sure we don't get a lot of cross noise. But I'm glad. I loved this exercise because I did have to sit down and think about it. And it did help me to think about myself in a little bit of in a better way. It helped me do that. So I agree with you. So thank you. Anybody else like to do that?
I'll share.
Okay.
For my analytical side, I said driven. I'm always driven to go deeper, to understand more, to help more, to like on all aspects. Like it's kind of interesting because I feel like all have like this analogy of like, I could be like on my deathbed, like trudging through a swamp, and I'll be like, here, I'll get this to you, you know? So like, it's not that I'm like stopped by something. Like it's hard to stop me when I have a plan in place. For my emotional side, I said considerate. I feel like I consider kind of how people are going to react. What's their emotional state? Is it worth going to a space like, you know, to not necessarily to protect somebody, but like, I consider kind of all angles when I'm approaching somebody or talking with somebody. And then physical, it's kind of interesting that I use this word, but I said dependable, because for many years my body wasn't dependable, but in the sense that like, no matter what or how I'm feeling or what it is, like I will still get up every single day and like get it done. You know, like even when I had COVID, every single morning I still woke up, I got on the treadmill and I was like, well, this is what's got to happen. Like, I'm like, I don't have another body. So like, this has got to still work for me at this point. So I've learned the hard way with not doing that. So I kind of have to at this point. So yeah, I would say dependable.
Awesome. Thank you, Haley. Pam?
Okay, so takes a long time, you know, for me to come up with these words. So analytical, I think I'm a realist. I'm very reality based, right? Emotionally,
Totally.
I think I'm empathetic. I try to be, at least. I think I'm empathetic, but I try to understand where someone's coming from, even though if I disagree or don't, or agree with that, I try to understand where they're coming from. And then physical was the hardest one ever. And that's taken me a couple days to figure out. And originally I had fun, but as we were sitting here, I kind of came up with enduring, because physically I've gone through a number of things, from a physical perspective, whether it was turning the machines off on mom and dad, or, dealing with my own illnesses or things like that. So I think it's enduring. But even though I do have fun though, too.
I was just gonna say, Pam, like 80% of like the most fun memories I have from like age 13 to 17 were with you, and we were doing shit. So I think like you are super fun and you are super adventurous physically. Like you want people to have really physical, heightened experiences. Like you take the kids to the parks, you take them boating, you take them all over the place. So that is something that like physically you really bring that to the table, and that changes people's lives, like totally.
Thanks, Britt.
Yeah.
And that was the word I had first.
Yeah. And another part of Mom's video was like, give an affirmation if you feel it. So I felt it in my.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Oh yeah, and give an affirmation if you feel like it. So thanks, Britt. Keep me on track.
Thanks,
there.
Britt. Which goes back to all the toys I have, right?
Yes.
And
that's
Jen's
awesome.
laughing because
Thank
she's
you,
like, yes,
Pam.
you and your toys. That's my neighbor up north in northern Wisconsin. So she's the UTV one with me and all that kind of stuff. So
How about you, Jen?
All right. Hi. Yeah, so I actually didn't have a chance to watch the video, so I've been kind of like thinking as everyone else has been talking. So thanks for not jumping to me first.
I did that to you before, so I figured I won't do that again.
Thank you. But I think for my analytical self, I kind of came up with thorough, because I like to look into things. Like I like to look at like several aspects of like whatever decision I'm going to make or whatever. I like to look at several different components of that and then kind of research that and like talk with my family about it and just try and get all the information and like collect that before I like move to the next step. So I think that like thorough is a good word for that.
you are that way, Jen. For the
Thank
couple years I've known you, you are totally, you look into all aspects of it and you dig into and get all the facts and data, everything. So yeah.
I do. Whether that's good or not. No, just kidding. But then for my physical self, I came up with independent, because I definitely just go and do it instead of like maybe thinking that I should ask for help, or like I'm just gonna go ahead and do whatever needs to be done, and like I'll ask for help if I am like failing. And then for my emotional self, I kind of came up with like a giver, just because I always really want to help other people. And so I'm always like, whether I'm like offering to help or I'll just like go and try and help. Like at Pam's house, well, I like to use the leaf blower. So for a good example is like, I'll just go and like leaf blow Pam's driveway because I have time and I enjoy it, but it also like helps her out and that makes me feel good. So, and I just like to, I don't know, I like to be a part and like give what I can to other people. So those are my three.
Awesome. Thank you. Hey, Matt, how about you? You want to share?
Sure. And
Okay.
special guest Pops here.
Hello.
I had to think about it, but I guess it just came to me to my heart because it just hit me both brain and heart simultaneously. For analytical, I had to go with bold because I always just get up and do. I get up and do exercise or get up and do chores or get up and go to work and be on my 2 feet for 14 hours a day or whatever. And for emotional, I had to go with attentiveness or
That is very true about
yeah,
you. You are
yeah.
emotionally attentive, probably one of the best people I know in that realm of emotional attention.
Oh,
That is so, that's so you. Okay,
oh,
sorry, go ahead.
thank you. Well, because attentiveness, because I guess that also has to do with inclusion, because like I listen a lot. You know, I will just sit and listen. Like if you know if somebody's having a bad day, like if mom's having a bad day or Kristen, and they're talking and talking, I'm sitting there and I reach over. I'm like, would you like a brownie? You know, and they're like, yeah. So we just talk, or you know, or even anybody. You know, I just sit and listen, and
That's
it's
perfect.
that active inclusion. And physical, I would have to say like it's caring, because I follow my heart a lot, and
Mhm.
you know, it just hits me out of the blue. Like I have to go do this. You know, like you know, hey, you got to do this to help. You know, whomever. You know, and it'll just hit me like almost like arrhythmia. And it's like I
Mhm.
gotta see a doctor because I think I have a arrhythmia issue or something. But no, it's not. So those are my three. But yeah, that's what just came to me both in heart and mind. It's like, yep, it's those three.
That's awesome. Thank you, Matt. Christine, would
Thank
you like
you.
to share?
Sure, yeah. My girls are running around. It's nice they're not in here at the moment, because the first most important one for physical is sober. I decided to stop drinking in November, and it's been really hard but really amazing. Really hard in that I'm
Yeah, and
facing a
I
lot.
gotta interrupt you just for a
Yeah.
second, because Jesus was just with you in my vision at a carnival. And you know that thing that they hit on the thing, and then it
Yeah.
goes to the top and it goes bing. It's like
Yeah.
literally you guys just hit that. Like you and him hit that. So I think that means
Uh,
you're not doing it alone, and he's super proud.
yes,
Like it
absolutely.
went right up to the top, the light. Okay, sorry to interrupt you, but I had to
No,
share
I
that.
absolutely feel that. I feel that very much. I feel like my dad's with me, God's with me, and uh, emotionally empathetic, which is always a good thing. It's just something to be mindful of, to also take care of myself. And
Mhm.
analytical, I don't know. I pathologize. I'm a speech pathologist, so I like to diagnose and I like to evaluate. And so I do that maybe more than I need to about everything in life.
But
But
that's a
yeah, the
positive
sobriety thing
aspect.
is big.
I think it's all huge. This
Yeah.
the way that you think is you can hear something someone is saying by the tone of their voice or the
Hmm.
intonation that they say it, or the space between their words. Like that's huge, because that's you're able to see something deeper about people that they might not even realize that they're expressing. Like that,
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. And you are very much like that.
Yeah.
And sobriety, so how long are you sober?
It's just since November 1st, but
That's
really,
wonderful. Well, damn, that's 17 days.
yeah.
3 more days till the habit's broken is what they say. Like if you can go
Oh,
21
right.
days,
Right.
yeah, if you can go 21 days, then the habit part is
Yep.
over. And then it's just the emotional part and the
Yep.
analytical part that you have to do. But you know what? Jesus is literally giving me a vision of, like when he said 3 more days till the 21 days, and then the habit forming thing is
Yeah.
over. Then he showed me 3 increments of those 21 days. The first week, the first 7 days is all about your physical body. The second 7 days is all about your analytical talking yourself through. The third week is the emotional week, and that's where you start dealing with the 7 days of emotions. So the reason, and I swear to God, well, I was like, I swear to God, Jesus just told me that. But like, that's kind of that's kind of like repetitive, right? To say that like that. But anyway, So I lost my train of thought because I thought that was funny what he said.
Okay, no, that's amazing. So the emotional, the physical, the
Oh, yeah, that's why it takes 21 days to feel a sense of healing within you, is because each increment of 7 days is part of your trinity. So it covers your analytical, your physical, your emotional. And as you go through your healing process, whatever it is, whether it's sobriety or if it's like you're confused about things and it's more connected to your mental stability, whatever you're going through, it's amazing. I'm sorry. I'm so blown away by today's connection and everything. But that's why it takes 21 days, is for that reason. And as you go through the process, you'll be able to identify what part of yourself is experiencing the sobriety. So if you're in the emotional part this week, then next week, where are you after those 7 days? Can you track a pattern? Is it harder to be sober when you're in an emotional phase of sobriety? Is it harder to be sober when you're in an analytical phase of sobriety? So if you could, and it might be different for everybody, right? Like another person experiencing the same thing, maybe they don't start with analytical. Maybe they do start with the body. Maybe they start with their emotions. And that leads us into like, what's your natural reaction style? My natural reaction style is analytical. So when I am going through the process, my first place is going to be 7 days of analytical. Then I'm going to be 7 days of physical. Then I'm going to be 7 days of emotional, because that's how my process works. And so he is explaining to me that was all, this was him the whole time. So I was trying to figure out what I was going to talk to you guys about. And, I pray about it, and I ask Jesus, and I ask everybody, and I ask everybody here on earth, what do you guys want to talk about? What do you think I should talk about? And when I was like, what could be the fun exercise for us to do, or something to get us talking with one another? And I kept seeing a triangle like this, and I kept seeing the 3 parts. I saw God the Father, God the Holy Spirit, God the Son. So I saw those 3 things. And then I saw all the different versions of Trinity and different expressions from different religions, and even what I usually talk about, like Sigmund Freud, analytical, physical, emotional. And I felt really strongly that we had to be nicer to our solar plexus, because that's where our Trinity comes together. And so we have to do that for ourselves. And then I didn't realize at the time that was within me, because he was going to show up, because we were going to be invited to see him in our lives and to connect with him. And also he would give us the answer of why it's 21 days and how to go through a process of healing. And that's how we go through a process of healing, is we focus, a different part of our Trinity is dedicated to that healing. And you might repeat that process, but sooner or later into that journey, you're going to have a much easier time dealing with whatever phase you're in, because you know what phase you're in, and you have come up with a fix for that particular phase and those particular emotions. And sometimes that takes an additional couple passes through those 21 days in order to see the pattern and recognize how it's the same every 17 days. I feel like I'm this. Every 12 days I feel like this. And you'll start to see a pattern when you go through those 21 days of healing. And I think that's amazing. So that's what he's explaining. And I think a lot of that, when I talk about all of that, I see the picture of, how his hand comes out. Did you guys ever see the picture of Jesus? It's just his hand, and his hand like comes out of the picture, and it's like, like that. Okay, that is pointing right at you, Christine. And it's like, it's feeling like so directed and you're towards you about what we're talking about today. So I just think it's awesome. The reason it's 7 days is because the Bible says it took 7 days to create the earth. That's why. So I do that for everything, and he's just laughing at me. So he's using that also. The other thing I like about Jesus is he meets you exactly where you are. Exactly where you are. You don't have to rise up to greet him. He comes down to greet us. And when he comes down to greet us, that's how we rise up. That's how it happens. And so I don't know. Okay. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. I feel so honored that you shared that with us, because it really, your journey has shared something with us that, like, it taught us something for all of our future struggles. Because every time now that we come into a struggle and we try to heal something within ourselves, we'll remember this, and this will come to our mind, and we'll remember that we're supposed to take a look at the emotional, we're supposed to take a look at this, we're supposed to break it down, and that's going to help everybody. And everybody here is going to help somebody else when they're going through a time, and they're going to get, this is going to come to their mind, and they're going to be like, okay, so let's talk about this, let's break it down. And now, and they're going to share it. And so your journey of sobriety and his greeting towards you and these answers is not, it's just has so much reach. It like reaches. So thank you for sharing that, because without you, we would not understand that today. So I feel blessed by that. So I'm going to be praying for you.
Thank you.
I think it's
really
beautiful.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, Trisha, I see you are on the phone. Would you like to give us your 3?
I'm driving.
Okay.
Nikki, she's driving at the moment, so, but she is listening.
Okay, great. Okay, so thank you everybody for sharing that, but I hold on one second, because hold on one second, I'll be with you all in just one moment. So I have Alan here with me, and since Trisha cannot comment on what her 3 are, we're gonna take her husband's opinion of her and what he is sharing with me. So he says that Trisha's analytical self is determined, and her analytical self will always be determined, and you can't stop that determination. So her analytical self is determined. For her physical self, compassionate. It's empathetic and physical. I feel like what he's showing me is like her body is like it draws in sometimes people's sadness, especially if they're going through something. She can feel it in her body. And so her physical self, according to her husband in heaven, is very compassionate. For her emotional self, her security is what he says. Like, if you have her, you are secure. You're secure. You don't have anything to worry about. You're secure. And so I know her, and I agree with that. But it's totally true. But the visions that he is giving me, Trisha, about how he's expressing what his opinion is of your Trinity and who you are, and I have to agree. I do. I have to agree with him about you. So he says he loves you, and he's smiling because he's like, you can't see me, but I'm right over there in the picture on Marissa's screen. He's like right next to Jesus. I'm right there. You can't see me, but I'm there. And then he flashed just now. So anyway, but that's what Alan said, and he is patting you, Matt, on the back, and he says he loves you, son, and you're doing a great job. He's really proud of the work you're doing. He's so excited for your career. So I'm sure he'll pop in again when we talk, more personal and stuff. But he did want to have Trisha still participate in that 3 affirmations for her inner Trinity. So I think that's awesome. I think this was a really great exercise, and I feel so good. Well, only one person is left, so I'm trying to ask if she would like to. Would you like to do yours? I know, but I'll go on mute. Yeah, do yours.
I was gonna chat with her in the chat and be like, come on, Marty, you're the last one.
She said she's monitoring the dogs. You just want to tell me the words? Okay. Okay, that's okay. Okay, so no, so that's it for today, but I'm gonna talk to her about it later. Yeah, I just thought this was a really good a good exercise so we can start to fill our solar plexus and recognize the good things about ourselves instead of always telling ourselves the bad things. Does anybody have any questions for me today or comments or anything else that they would like to discuss? My brain is very, I had a light day today, you guys, and I thought that's so strange that I have such a light day today. I only had a couple sessions. It wasn't an overwhelming day. And now my brain is like blown away because of this connection from Jesus today and God and everything. So if anybody has anything they would like to talk about, that would be great.
I just had a small thing to share based on something that you said earlier about like a triangle of a triangle. And learning right now in school about a theory. I'm studying occupational therapy, and in the theory that we're learning right now, there's a triangle that represents the person. And at the center of the person is spirituality. And at the top, it's affective, which means feeling. And then, so like the feeling of the person, the physical part of the person is the other corner. And then the other corner is cognitive. And I think it's kind of crazy because those are like the three things that we described about ourselves, like emotional, cognitive is analytical, and then the physical body. And so like, as you're talking about it and you said something about a triangle, I was like, and then I just saw it in my head and was like, oh my gosh, it's like the same thing. So
thank you. Thank you for sharing that. He's everywhere. It's everywhere. No, but that's true. Thank you so much. Anybody else have any comments, questions?
Nick, in the tarot card for this month, how did you know that was a woman?
What was the tarot card this month?
It was the 7 cups. Was it the 7 cups? And
because she has a robe on. I mean, it could be a man.
Well, it was just interesting because I didn't see it as, at first I didn't see it as a man or a woman. And then in your description, when you called it a woman, I'm like, oh, then I saw that, I saw the feminine piece come out in it then. I was like, oh, I wondered how she knew that because I didn't associate it with either or until you actually drew it out.
Okay. Yeah. I just felt that way. I didn't really study. It just came out that way when I was praying about it and looking at the card. It just kind of came out that way. Yeah, folks, I'm at a loss for words. So,
Yeah.
So I think we'll probably end here because I don't know where to go from here. And yeah, I don't know. And it's still there. Look, it's still there, but it's the only there's other things in the room. Well, I hope that everybody has a very happy Thanksgiving. And don't forget we have a coupon for 25% off for till the end of the year for any service that you guys want to book. And yeah, that's it. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining. I'm going to have to sign off right now because my brain cannot process any further information.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye. Nice seeing you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.